Welcome again to lesson 2 of professional ethics. Today we discuss some concept about ethics. For example, we have concept of ethic and concept of moral. Before of doing this, I want to explain in the previous lesson, which was this, you can find this kind of video in online sessions. This is the class video, lesson 1. So before doing this lesson 2, you can watch this video. Okay? So let's begin. Right. So before we discuss this topic, we should know some different concepts about our main topic, ethic, morals, or professional deontology. So we have three definitions. We have deontology, then ethics, and morals. We will watch some videos to clarify this concept.
What is deontological ethics? Deontological ethics is one of the three major theories of normative ethics, along with virtue ethics and consequentialism. The word deontology comes from the Greek word deon, which means duty. Deontological ethics, therefore, is the theory that argues that the morality of a human act, its rightness or wrongness, depends on whether it fulfills a duty or not, rather than on virtue or on its consequences. For deontological ethics, some actions are right or wrong in themselves, regardless of their consequences, and it is our duty to do these right actions and avoid the wrong ones. For example, people have the obligation to tell the truth, even if doing so might have unfavorable results. In other words, for deontological ethics, telling the truth is always right in itself, regardless of its consequences, while telling a lie is always wrong, and it is our duty to always tell the truth and avoid telling lies. To better understand what deontological ethics is, consider this example. Suppose you were a doctor and you have just discovered that your patient has stage 4 breast cancer. However, you can't tell her the truth right away because you are aware that she also has a serious heart condition. Doing so might just give her a heart attack and possibly even kill her. What should you do? From the point of view of consequentialist ethics. Take note, consequentialist ethics. Lying to the patient and telling the truth to her loved ones instead is the best thing to do. By doing so, you avoid the negative consequence of her having a heart attack or dying. However, from the point of view of deontological ethics, telling the patient the truth is the right thing to do, even if doing so might result in her having a heart attack or dying. In deontological ethics, therefore, we have to consider first which actions are right and wrong before making any moral decision. If an action is right in itself, then we have the moral duty to do it, whereas if an action is wrong in itself, then we have the moral duty to act accordingly.
Difference between moral and ethics. Much of the confusion between these two words can be traced back to their origins. The word ethic comes from Old French, éthique, Late Latin, ethica, and Greek, ethos, and referred to customs or moral philosophies. The Latin moral was coined by Cicero to translate ethical from Greek philosophy, so that at the start the two words were equivalent. But after 2,000 years of history in classical and modern languages, there is likely to be divergence in their connotations. The most important influence on our contemporary meaning of moral was a long incubation in the Christian religion. In contrast, the most important influence on ethical was modern Enlightenment's attempt to find a foundation for judgments of right or wrong outside Christianity. Although the term ethical is closely associated with the work of Aristotle, modern ethics was more profoundly connected to Socrates. Ethics was an attempt to recover the intellectual or rational basis of action that was obscured by a Christian morality. Currently both morality and ethics loosely have to do with distinguishing the difference between good and bad or right and wrong. Ethics refer to rules provided by an external source, codes of conduct in workplaces, principles in religions or societies. Morals refer to an individual's own principles. Are also influenced by culture or society, but they are personal principles created and upheld by individuals themselves. It's important to know that what's ethical isn't always what's moral. Omerta, for example, is a code of silence that developed among members of the mafia. It was used to protect criminals from the police. This follows the rules of ethically correct behavior for the organization, but it can also be viewed as wrong from a moral standpoint. A moral action can also be unethical. A lawyer who tells the court that his client is guilty may be acting out of a moral desire to see justice done, but this is deeply unethical because it violates the attorney-client privilege. The idea of ethics being principles that are set and applied to a group, not necessarily focused on the individual, is relatively new, though, primarily dating back to the 1600s. The distinction between ethics and morals is particularly important for philosophical ethicists.
So now we have everything clear. We can continue talking about ethics, moral, or professional ontology. We have watched videos about this concept, so we can skip this part. We can continue here. The law could be assimilated to ontology because what it says here is to comply when it is established by the legal rules. This is important to know, legal rules. An intention that accompanies these behaviors is irrelevant, even, as it will know, the recognition of fulfilling a legal duty with unfair intention or only because of the fear of sanction does not affect the satisfaction of full compliance with a duty without generating any legal approach. So, in short words, we can say ontology is extremely related to the law. Well, in order term in question, speaking about ethics and moral, we will use them as synonyms, separated by etymology. Remember, etymology is the science of words. So it's like analyzing the words from their roots. So this part we can skip because we watched this on this previous video. So we can, let's go further. So the central concept of ethics or morality is the good. We know this now. And its capacity to mobilize and challenge the reason and will of the recipient to seek it through pertinent behaviors. So it's about behaviors, don't forget. In classical philosophy, remember, we have ethics from philosophy, from legal terms, even from psychology. Okay? So, in classical philosophy, the next root of ethics is the reason that orders to act through the good it seeks, but it requires will that will. So, this author has definitely synthesized three central conceptions of ethics. For example, in Socrates, ethics is assimilated to knowledge or science. This is according to Socrates. And evil arises from ignorance. So, according to Kant, ethics is identified with a goodwill that there is a fulfilled duty for duty's sake. And the last one, according to Aristotle, ethics is based on prudence and goodwill. This is the more, this is a closer meaning we relate the meaning of ethics. So, philosopher, remember Socrates, Kant, Aristotle have their own definition of ethics. We're talking about the differences between morals and ethics, but it's time to talk about the differences between moral and ethics, but in English. So, they define this in aspect of human behavior. We know that in most cases, when any of us does something, we try to act according to what society believes is right. More often, we listen closely to what our own belief about right or wrong are telling us, even if they're different from society views. These two have to do with ethics versus morals. Even though these words are used interchangeably by many, there is a big difference in the meanings. So, there are some key takeaways. Morals relate to personal beliefs about right or wrong, and ethics pertain to the rules set by a community or society. So, we can easily see what could be the difference. Let's talk about the definition. In previous videos, we heard about definition of both, so we can talk about in English. When I say in English, I'm not talking about the language. I'm talking about the subject, English. Okay, it's different from ethics in law or ethics in psychology or ethics in philosophy, but it's now to talk about in English. For example, morals refer to personal principles regarding what is right and wrong. For example, this could be shaped by factors such as our upbringing, culture, religion, and personal experiences. So, moral is an act from internal compass that guide us in our day-to-day behavior. About ethics, on the other hand, consists of rules and standards set by external bodies such as professional organization, culture, or society. Moral is one person, could be you, me, but everyone. Nevertheless, ethics is more what society set for rules. So these rules are designed to govern the conduct of members of a group and ensure that action align with the collective values of that community. Values, we can have values and morals inside morals, and we can have values in ethics. Ethics often come into play in professional settings, dictating how we ought to act within those contexts. So, this is a great question. How to use ethics versus morals, but correctly? This is more of the same, but it's very important. Ethics refers to the rules that a social system provides us with. So, there are codes to how to act in workplace. It's more like how to act. Or even in a public place, church, whatever society has a place. And also, it's necessary to act according to ethical principles, even if they don't agree with our own feelings. Because if you don't, other people are likely to start judging you. Respect ethics so society couldn't judge you. In contrast, we have morals. They are our own principles. We, when we act according to morals, We do something because we personally are certain that this is the right thing to do. Ethics, it is in context. For example, no matter which hospital you go to, you can expect pretty much the same type of behavior from any doctor. Still, if you need legal services, the ethics of any given lawyer will be different from the ethics of any given doctor. Therefore, ethics vary depending on the context to which they apply. But speaking about moral principles, the moral principles that a person has are normally the same. So ethics is very concept, but in the same context of social. Remember that. And moral is not the same. I mean, it could be changing according to the context. Let's go back to the doctor and the hospital story. Say so he can be expected to act the same way, but around a doctor or a lawyer, if he feels that it's the right thing to do. However, an event can occur that will be able to radically change what person values and believes in. So this is why we talk about ethics is the same and moral could be the same or could be changed. It will be changing according to the event that a person can experience. Let's talk about the conflicts. If a doctor personally believes that his patient has the right for euthanasia, he can perform this procedure because of ethical standard. Similarly, a lawyer who knows that his client is guilty of murder probably believes that such a crime is a terrible thing to do. Nevertheless, the ethics of this profession force him to defend his client, no matter what. I'll show you a very good example in moments. So, we have some tips to remember the difference personal versus social. We can remember that morals are more personal, I mean, they are personal principles we hold, and ethics are rules set by a group we're part of. Could be society, as we said before. Belief versus actions. We can think of moral as our internal compass, given our beliefs. Ethics are more about external action, given our behavior in various situations. We can observe these contrast definitions. For example, moral are more personal, is related to beliefs, not codified. Ethics, nevertheless, is more social, is related to action more than beliefs, often codified. Codified, it means when there is, it could be set by a rule, a society rule. Let's see some examples. Examples of ethics. The company's code of conduct is based on strong ethics and integrity. There are more examples. A lot of examples. Let's read another example of this act of moral. His decision was guided by his strong personal morals. Right, so we have our summary. We have ethics versus morals. In most cases, when any of us does something, we try to act according to what society believes is right. More often, we listen closely to what our own beliefs about right or wrong are telling us, even if they're different from society views. These two have to do with ethics and morals. We have the meaning of ethics refers to the rules that a social system provides us with, and we have the meaning of morals that are our own principles. We can see here Ethics, for example, rules of conduct or societal norms with respect to a group or culture. We have morals here, habits or behaviors with respect to what an individual believes is right or wrong. Before finish it, I want to you, I want you to can watch this. This is one of my favorite um, stream series, Better Call Saul. It's a story about a lawyer. This lawyer, for example, is a criminal lawyer. What does that mean? He helps to his client, a criminal, but he doesn't care what a crime is. He is shown to be a complete criminal lawyer who maintains extensive connection with the criminal underworld and serves as a go-between connecting drug distributors. So even in the previous series, Breaking Bad, he was laundry. He was laundering the money of drug dealers. This is Saul Goodman. This is the lawyer. For the other hand, we have Chuck McGill. Chuck McGill is his brother in the fiction series. Is his brother. Is totally opposite of Saul. Why? Because Chuck McGill was a brilliant man of high ideals. He had high ideals. This is this this is this quote. We defend your rights. He believed that doing the right thing is the true and proper route to success. Chuck was a highly intelligent and dedicated lawyer who viewed the law as a being sacred. He thought the law was sacred and was very determined in helping with his client in any way possible. He was well respected by his colleagues at HHM. HHM is the firm, is the law firm he was doing his job. So it's a totally opposite of his brother Saul Goodman. So this is the same the same difference we were talking about. How could be how a professional has ethics and who doesn't? Who doesn't? Saul Goodman. Who has ethics? Chuck McGill. Thus, Saul Goodman, if he doesn't have ethics, of course, he doesn't have morals. Right, let's go back to the virtual classroom. We have an activity in the forum. Let's talk here about differences. Please add your opinion so when you have finished, we can see the explanation. We have characteristic. Personal principles of right or wrong. Personal. What could be that? That could be moral. Number two, a system of principle and judgment shared by cultural, religious, and philosophical groups. Of course, this is ethics. So I would like to you to check what your opinion of this characteristic. It could be moral or could be ethics in this forum.